You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the January 24th, 2024 meeting of the Long Beach Human Resources Committee. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
This is the Human Resources first meeting of the year. As far as I know, these individuals are board members. JD Haley, are you here?
Present.
We just started. Mike Consek,
Here.
Chief Swistek,
Present.
and Georgetta Cox.
Here.
Clerk Treasurer Meg Collins, I am present. That concludes roll.
Excellent. I think as we start here, first, we have a fairly loose agenda. I apologize. This is kind of an organizational committee. We'll be getting things, schedules finalized, roles, etc. So, I think the first order of business is we need to nominate the chair of the committee. I'll do this.
I'll nominate JD Haley.
Second.
Shall we vote?
Yeah.
Discussion?
All in favor?
All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Excellent. Nominations for a secretary.
I can do that role.
I'll nominate Meg Collins.
I second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. All right. Before we begin, I thought, before we get into old business, I just found it interesting going back through the code of restating kind of the responsibilities and the purpose of this committee to make sure that kind of we are doing as instructed by and instructed by our ordinance. The establishment, the town council shall, at its first council meeting in January, appoint a 5-member Human Resource Advisory Committee comprised of a town council member, her treasurer, town manager, town marshal, and 2 residents of Long Beach. The term of service for the appointee shall be 1 year. The committee shall be an advisory entity convening as needed, but at least annually to review and provide advice and recommendations of human resource issues. Personnel policy related issues, including adherence to local, state, and federal regulations, will be included in the scope of study for this committee. For treasurer or town manager shall serve as a liaison to the Human Resource Advisory Committee and the town council. Town council should be the final authority of all town human resource issues. So that is our mandate going through this. So I thought it would be important to kind of reiterate that. And to the extent that an advisory board would be for the town manager, who is a head of many people, and our clerk treasurer is, I would start with old business items, is what is coming to this committee and how can we help advise?
Good afternoon. Previously, some of the things that we worked on as an HR committee were the employee benefits packages concerning healthcare benefits for our employees. Currently, we're under contract with General Insurance here locally in the city of Michigan City. They, every fall, search the marketplace with the various healthcare providers and provide us with their professional input as to the most cost-effective plan for the town of Long Beach and its full-time employees. Currently, we utilize Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. Last year, we had them look at UMR. UMR came in much higher than what we're currently paying for our premium with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we rely on them heavily for their input. We also looked at a trust-funded healthcare program that other municipalities across the state of Indiana do utilize. And we found that that was substantially higher than the cost that we are currently paying for our Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield program. So that's one of the things is annually we work on that. Job descriptions, this committee typically handles job descriptions, does a periodic review of job descriptions for the town employees in the various positions that we employ. I have 2 job descriptions that I will be wanting to bring forward to this committee in the following months, one for the street department and one for the police department, that I would like this committee to evaluate. Last year, old business, we had a few personnel issues that we managed and advised the HR committee on throughout the process. Currently, we have some openings in employment. We have 1 opening for a building inspector. We have 2 openings for deputy marshals with the police department. Previously, this committee worked on the employee annual evaluation, which I had sent each of you a copy today, that we are beginning the process of completing the annual evaluations. They'll be due back on no later than March 1st. So if you have any questions on that, I would encourage you to please reach out to me. The handbook is a big part of what this committee also reviews. I would strongly encourage our committee to look at the town handbook from front to back cover, and it probably wouldn't hurt to maybe do a revision on that. Last one, I believe, was in 2022. There are a few amendments that we've done to it, but I would look at the town handbook and look for any recommended changes there as well.
So can you send us a soft copy of that?
Yes, I had earlier in getting an email account set up for you also, Mike, for the town. So you'll have that set up here shortly as well. Well, that's into your current MSN account as well.
Okay.
So, but please let me know if you did not receive or have any problems opening that. So, but Mr. Chair, going back, I can, if you would like, we could spend, sorry, with you a little bit of time. I could kind of update this committee on the hiring process for the building inspector and let you know where we are to date, if you would like.
Sure.
We received approximately 20 applications for the building inspector position. We had advertised on Indeed, the local papers, and the local Beecher, through word of mouth, social media. We were very pleased with the applications that we received. We have completed the interviews of 5 applicants. All 5 were very good candidates. I spoke to the building commissioner, Larry Wall, earlier today. Larry has a recommendation that he would like to move forward to the town council on Monday, February 12th. I will have our office conduct a background investigation on this individual prior to the 12th. We intend on also reaching out to the individual to give them kind of a conditional offer to hire based on approval of the town council, just to make sure they're still interested in the position before bringing it to the council. The individual brings background in municipal work for INDOT, subcontractors related to INDOT, very familiar with blueprints, construction, lives in a nearby community. Is a gentleman that is retired and would have the time to commit to this part-time employment, does not have any need for health care or any other fringe benefits. And in review of the salary ordinance for this position has the salary set at $29.99. Some of the positions for the town have a range. Unfortunately for this particular position, in our current salary ordinance for 2024, the salary is set at $29.99. So my recommendation would be to this committee is to allow myself and the building commissioner to go forward with the recommendation to hire the individual as vetted and interviewed by the committee, and start the salary at $29.99 on a probationary status. And I am open for any questions anybody may have.
What is the standard probationary period for that employee?
1 year, and within that 1 year, they are not eligible for any other pay increases until after a completion of 1 year, unless otherwise voted upon by the town council. So typically, when we hire an employee, we'll go through a brief orientation period. Let's say their start date's January 1, 2024, they're on probation for a period of a year. The supervisor is recommended, or department head is recommended to conduct periodic reviews of the employee. I would say no less than every month to make sure that the employee is fulfilling the duties and responsibilities of that position. And then after a year of employment, the employee is eligible for pay increases as voted upon by the town council. And we are an at-will state as well, so, if any issues come about at any point, we could separate employment with that individual and/or that person could separate with us as well. Typically, we ask for a 2-week, notice, but then again, we would make all that clear upon the time of hiring.
Yes, employment situation, the person and the employer, so.
Can you
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, well, there you go.
Okay, so employment says, well, the employee and employer, so they can come in and say, "I'm done tomorrow." We can come in and say, "You're done tomorrow," so it's, and that maybe we're getting too detailed. I don't understand the 1 year probation. Because, it doesn't, there are no extra requirements in a probationary period, no more or no less requirements to separate a person, whether it's in a probationary period or 2 days after the probationary period. So I think the probationary period it's not meaningless, but it's meaningless, so we can still have it. So it doesn't, but it won't be compensated.
I agree, it doesn't. No, I don't think it's covered in the handbook. I'll have to verify. I would say it is, in my personal opinion, I believe it's a benefit to us. In my previous career, it was very beneficial when someone had a minor infraction and maybe their work product wasn't the greatest. For us, it was much easier to get rid of an employee on probationary status than it was when they were full-time status, typically because I'm talking more of a union setting as well.
Oh, well, we absolutely are not the union
It's
set.
not a union shop, so yeah. But I don't see an issue having a probationary period. But totally up for discussion and so.
But we've
By past practice, we've used it, so.
okay.
So that's-
This is still a 20-hour week position?
The building inspector typically works 20 to 30 hours per week, not to exceed 60 hours every 2 weeks. Not to exceed 60 hours of pay period, so 2 weeks. So,
But if he does, we have to pay him.
yes.
Okay.
And there are circumstances that the building inspector had surpassed the 60 hours before, but then we had justification for, there was an increase in permits and training. They have a new software training program that they're going through, so there's going to be some training coming up. Commissioner Wall shared that with me earlier as well.
So, and this is a unique position because if I remember, the building commissioner is not an employee, is that correct?
That's correct.
So the person, who do they report to then, within the organization?
The building,
Go ahead.
the building department and the building inspector, to include the office manager, honor Adam, report to me under the organization chart. So, and that would change by the town council in the fall of 2023.
So the inspector reports to you. Oh, good. Okay.
And the commissioner falls under my preview, not necessarily, I don't do performance appraisals and that, but works directly under me because of the building department relationship.
Yeah, so he gets his marching orders from you or director. Okay.
And we communicate on a weekly basis.
Oh, great. Okay.
Clarification. You said at the time that you had 5 candidates.
That we have 5 candidates we interviewed, but we had 20 applicants.
Right. And the one that is to be submitted, an additional one is to be submitted by March 1st, is that correct?
We will present that individual to the February 12th town council meeting for the vote.
So there'll be six.
No, this individual is one of the five that.
One of them. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Unless there's any other questions on the building inspector opening, I can move to the deputy marshal openings.
Was the building inspector's job description changed at all based on any new requirements?
Not at this time, it's still the original one that we approved some time ago.
Okay,
On the deputy marshal positions, we have two positions that are currently open. One is for retiring Chief Deputy Marshal James Schooley, 26 years of dedicated service to the town, retiring on April 10th. We have sought the approval of the town council to begin the process of hiring a new deputy marshal for that position to fulfill his supervisory responsibilities as the chief deputy marshal. I have already committed to making that promotion from within our current employees, which that will either be Deputy Mitchell Seitz or Deputy Matthew Farthing. So one of them will elevate to the sergeant's position. And then that leaves us with the two deputy marshal positions, which are our patrol officer spots to fill. Last night, we completed an interview with a certified Indiana Law Enforcement Academy police officer who is currently working here in LaPorte County, has 2 years of service currently. That individual passed our interview screening last evening. Will be in front of the police commission at 2 p.m. tomorrow in executive setting for an interview with the police commission. After the executive meeting at 2 p.m. tomorrow, we'll have a quarterly police commission meeting at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow, at which time I will be seeking the recommendation and consent of the police commission to move that candidate to Friday's 1 p.m. meeting with the town council. I've asked the town council for a special town council meeting this Friday at 1 p.m. Because I am treating the hiring of this individual as an emergency hire due to the fact that every day that the patrol shift goes uncovered because of the vacancies that I have, we spend a little over $500 a day in overtime. So therefore, I don't want to wait an additional 2 weeks to February 12th to get in front of the council. And the council has graciously agreed to meet this Friday at 1 p.m. I plan on having this individual present at the meeting on Friday for the council members to meet the individual prior to their vote. And if passed at their meeting, the individual would start on February 12th. On that Monday would be their first day of service to the town of Long Beach. And then I have a second position that we are working on next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. We haven't set the dates and times yet, but Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we will be interviewing an additional 3 to 4 police applicants. All of them are certified Indiana Law Enforcement Academy graduates. I believe every one of them are currently working in LaPorte County. Yes, they are. I was very pleased with the applicants that we have received applications from. I received several that were not certified police officers. So we have looked at those applications. However, I am not moving those forward with recommendation for interview due to the fact that if we were to hire one of those individuals, we would have to send them to the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy for a period of 18 weeks. We would have to cover the cost of all the associated fees for the academy, the training, the salaries and everything else. So my sales pitch to the town council is going to be, we are actively recruiting certified police officers who have the experience, the knowledge, and clean work records here in LaPorte County that we can kind of draft to bring to the town of Long Beach to improve our overall team. So, and with that,
so as certified police officers, they don't have to go through the physical either, right?
they do not, no. And, but I can assure you, if you were to meet the individuals that are applying, they are well suitable for the job. There's some very good candidates. We're very blessed with the candidates that we received. With that, I would like to talk about and get the consent and recommendation from this committee before I talk to the police, before I present to the council on Friday. Last time we hired a deputy marshal was back November 2022. We started that deputy marshal out at $63,000 a year. When I look at my current deputies, from the youngest to what the most senior was, on the low end, my least senior deputy is making $29.72 an hour, and our top deputy was making $33.17 an hour. I had a staff meeting last night with all of our staff members. We discussed the appropriate salary for the two positions that we currently have open. And it was voted upon last night that we would like to recommend to the town council and to this committee that we start the new employees out at $63,500.
I'm confused. The police officers are paid hourly, right?
They are, so it would come out to $29.08 an hour.
So this is straight time, 63,000 is straight time.
And that's to give you just a rough idea of straight time, what it would cost us for the year. So they work an 84-hour pay period. So every 2 weeks is 84 hours. So if we go with the salary of $63,500, and then we then divide that by 2,184 hours for the year, brings the salary to hourly rate for $29.075. So if you round up, $29.08 per hour. So then if you take $29.08 an hour times 9.
I wasn't questioning the rhythm.
Sure.
What I was saying, I was trying to, I don't know if JD's aware of this, but, we're talking straight time here. And they have considerable overtime, which is good for them, good for us, good for them.
Yeah.
Right, so
Yeah, it's gonna, yeah, so to help, I guess, better clarify that for you, we have an overtime budget for the marshals, which is $55,000 a year. So out of the $55,000 a year in overtime, the 4 patrol deputies would have that available to them whenever they work overtime. Yes, we do have overtime for training. We have overtime for special events like the 4th of July, the hot summer weekends. We deploy extra officers on our busier, nights. And then we have training mandates by the state of Indiana that we have to attend a minimum of 24 hours a year in training. So yes, we do use overtime. We have officers that unfortunately get sick. When they're sick, we have to backfill the shifts as well. So I just wanted to give this board an idea that going back to the last hire, November of 2022, we started that employee out at approximately $63,000. We're asking to start this employee at $63,500, which comes out to the $29.08 roughly per hour. Just asking for a motion in a second to allow me to recommend that to the full council on Friday as they hear the hiring of the new potential applicant. So thoughts, questions, which I will say, just to share with you. So we do have the budgeted money for this. The marshal that this individual would replace for this year was already making $33.17. So it's going to be a savings to the town because you're obviously going to pay the new employee $29.08 compared to the $33.17 you were paying the officer that they were replacing.
That's closely $10,000.
So what's the range for that job?
The range is $26 to $35, according to the 2024 salary. It's
26.
$26 to $35. So we're well within the salary ordinance as well. I will say this, I talked to a police department to the west of us this morning. It's also a town, has a little bit larger department than us. And I had inquired with them. We were talking about a totally unrelated item this morning. And I had asked, I have 2 officers I need to hire. What is your current starting rate for your police department? And they told me $74,300. So if this same officer was to go to this department just over the LaPorte Porter County line, they would start out at $74,300 there.
So is there a bump, is there a bump after 12 months for the officer?
Depending on the vote of the council, they would follow the same thing, except for we have lit tax, the local income tax, which is the public safety tax. So as we present the salary ordinance for 2025, I may be looking at, depending on the theme of salaries in LaPorte County, I may be, saying, although they've only been, let's say, with us for 11 months, I may ask the council to give them a raise next year so we can keep these employees here.
And that's, is there a schedule of when we go out to the market and look at everybody's salary that is employed by the town? Do we do that?
We typically, we did it one time, it's been some time ago, probably 2021, I think was the last time it was done. This past year, the way we've usually handled it is we look what other municipalities are doing around us. For instance, I believe this year, I don't recall what the county government gave, but the year before, the Port County government gave all their employees across the board a 10% raise. The year that they did that, we gave all of our employees across the board a 5% raise. So typically what we do is we reach out to the other cities and towns nearby, kind of get, the flavor of what they're doing. A lot of them base it off of the COLA, Social Security, the cost of living allowance. So we don't every year go out and call every single police department or water department or street department and find out what they're paying their staff. We typically base it upon what other municipalities are giving as a general across the board raise.
Okay, but I guess should it be something maybe for this group to consider doing a little bit of a benchmark study and looking not just at base salaries, but benefits and an entire portfolio of offerings to ensure that we're competitive if it hasn't been done for a couple of years?
You can, and there's companies that do it for you. It's quite costly for them to do it. I know I used through our HR department in the city of Michigan City, we had employed, a vendor to do it. And I want to say we probably spent about $25,000 to do it at the time. I don't think we need to do something that extensive, but it wouldn't hurt to do that. Because, we have some, I'll say this, and I shared this with the council before. We have this building, we have this equipment in this town, we have some, nice trucks and other equipment, that's great, but the heart of everything is at our employees. We've got some very dedicated employees that I'm sure all of us want to make sure we take care of. And that I use like Tom Dolph, for instance. I was on the Nextdoor app over the last couple of days. In fact, JD, thank you for your compliments, Tom Dolph, and I talked about that. That JD himself and other residents have gone on the Nextdoor here. Anita has as well, complimenting our street and water staff for all the plowing and salting efforts here in recent days. Those gentlemen have not literally slept but a couple hours since Thursday a week ago when they went to bed, and because last Friday in the morning they've been up constantly. They worked all weekend. They were in here the other Monday night. They came in at 10, and when I came in yesterday, they were plowing and salting all day. So
yeah,
they do a great job.
all the hills and all the valleys and all that.
But no, that's something I think that we can look at.
What you're saying is right. We should take a look at the market. And the market is not Michigan City salaries. The market is other towns like ours, size of ours, in this area. That's really hard. And you say, who's the competition? When was the last time we lost an employee left us voluntarily? Not through retirement, but went to another job.
Well, we had a police officer that was leaving for Brownsburg, Indiana to go to their police department. And then we gave the salary bumps in the police department to keep that employee here. But that employee was leaving us. And that was back in 2022.
Yeah.
Other than that, we haven't. We do a great job of taking care of our employees in that. So
we've had virtually no turnover.
Sounds like it,
Which is good in some ways.
but it may be time to go out and just look at our
Yeah,
overall package as well, not just base comp.
yeah.
I'll use this for an example. The individual that we are going to present to the council on Friday for hiring for the deputy marshal position currently works for a town where the health benefits for that individual currently are only for the employee. And this individual has a child and a spouse and cannot put them on the healthcare program. And when we began the search for new deputy marshals, this was a selling point for the Long Beach, town of Long Beach government, was that we offer a healthcare package for the family. And, that was a considerable amount for this individual to consider employment here. Now, this individual will still pay over $500 a month, their share for the family plan of healthcare, because they're responsible for 20% of it. But in the long run, that individual is very happy to be able to have their spouse and their child covered with the healthcare. So,
And the last time the survey was done, one of the reasons it was done was because people were saying, oh, this town has this, and the county has this wages and these benefits and things that, and so I had a little story about how someone in some place was earning more than what we're paying here, right? But then we look at the whole organization, the whole town, or the whole, on average, we were at the market price or, I mean, not dramatically low, but we go back to the employees and say, you know what? We feel pretty good that we're paying our benefits and our total compensation is very, very competitive. And that's,
I think that's where we want to be.
yeah.
Do you have any other comments, Mayor? So Chief, you're looking for a motion?
in a second to, allow me to present a salary package to town council on Friday for $63,500, which would equate to about $29.08 an hour to hire the new deputy marshal. And that would apply to both of the open positions. So once we find a second applicant, they would be offered the same salary. We would equally across the board.
What if they have less experience or different fuel?
I plan on starting both at the same, because my youngest, least, I guess, about that, it's my least senior deputy right now. I don't want to pay him more than that employee, because it'd be a offense to pay a new person more than somebody who's been with us already a year.
Well, unless they had 30 years of experience that would,
The ones I'm looking at all have roughly under 5 years' experience.
Is there a second to the chief's
Second.
motion? Second? Any?
Who motioned that?
I,
The chief.
oh,
I'll make the motion. You make it, it's there.
And we have a second from
Sir John?
Trevetta. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
So, Mr. Chair, the only other couple of things that I have are the handbook review, as we discussed earlier. I electronically sent it to everybody. I would just recommend that maybe we take a month, everybody take a look at it, jot down any recommendations, maybe sections that individuals would like to, open up for discussion. So everybody has a copy of that. Employee annual reviews, something new. Last year was the first year that we started conducting annual reviews. Each of you received an email and a copy of the annual review earlier today. So if you have any discussion or questions on that, please let me know. Healthcare, brushed on earlier. I recommend if anybody, as JD and I personally talked before, with his experience out in the private sector, there may be some assistance or some thoughts out there of healthcare providers that maybe the town could look at as options. And then employee benefits on the longevity side, we had changed the longevity about a year ago, where previously our longevity starts after year 3. So you need to have 3 full years of employment. Your 4th year, you would then receive $100 compensation for every year of employment. We changed it so that years 20 through 29, you now receive $200 a year. Years 30 and beyond, you receive $300 a year. There's been some discussion, and I do agree with this, and I will use the only employee that we have that has 30 years or more is Tom Dolph, to possibly look at that $300 allowance. So it's kind of a benchmark. If somebody's going to hit 3 decades of service to the town, my recommendation through discussions with some of the other employees is maybe we look at that and increasing the $300 to potentially $500 for every year, 30 and beyond. So Tom right now has 32 years of service. So for him, he would get, instead of the $300, he would get $500. So essentially it'd be $400 more a year. but it is, something for somebody that's served over 3 decades to the town, so.
Which is amazing,
Yeah.
wonderfully amazing.
But again, I think we gotta look at the market's doing nothing. I mean, are we gonna be a leader in $500 for that?
I would say, I'll use this example, obviously, I came from a much larger department.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, when you look at smaller ones, I think we're in line with them, but they do not differentiate between the 20 to 30-year service in that, so, it's all what we want to do. And I think when you have somebody with 30 years of service, like, I'm heartbroken with losing Sergeant Schooley, 26 years of service, he's starting his 27th year this year, has done a phenomenal job since my appointment here in the town, and we've had this discussion that he's just ready to get out of law enforcement. It's nothing to do with the town of Long Beach. He's ready to step away from law enforcement. He'll be dearly missed. We wish him the best health and all, but when you have people that put that much time into a place, I think we really need to take care of them and keep them here as long as we can. So, but just something to think about. And then lastly, like I said, job descriptions was the only other thing I had. I touched on that earlier, and I'll have a couple of those I'll bring to this committee in the next couple of months. So, and typically salary ordinance, just for your information, we typically begin working on that in June, July, to have a recommendation to the town council, because the town council ultimately makes a decision as to any increases to salaries when we develop a 2025 budget. So, there's been discussion in the past doing merit raises. We've pushed away from that just because being a small town, that's difficult to do. When you only have 11 full-time employees, it's very difficult to do, individual merit raises. So typically the town's past practice has always been, if the town gives a 3% raise, all the employees get a 3% raise, unless there's a change in the job description or an employee receives some sort of certification or something that would, allow for an additional increase. And that is all that I have to share.
So is that our practice, and is it a practice?
This year, everybody got a 3% raise. Yeah, and, prior to that, there was 1 year, the year before, the police department, took a substantial raise, but that was because of the lit tax. When the local income tax came into play, we followed the lead of all the other law enforcement agencies across the county who were giving 20 and 25% raises. So we increased ours, and, that's how we were able to keep some of our employees to not apply to the police departments. So.
Well, thank you for getting us up to speed. Got a lot of work to do. For new business, we had discussed meeting times. Prior, if you'd like to get it on the record, Meg?
So this commission previously was meeting the first Thursday of each month at 1 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays do not work for one member of the board. And I think we were going to try and keep this one during business hours. Georgetta, how does the third Wednesday at 1 p.m. of each month work for you?
Tell me what that should work pretty well, and I hadn't really looked into that, because I thought it was Thursday.
Well, I just came up with this last night.
So,
And we just discussed, so can you let me know?
oh, sure.
Okay, you can email me. Okay. So tentatively, we're gonna go with the third Wednesday at 1, pending hearing back from a member. So we will get that noticed and put on the website once we finalize it. Georgetta and I.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, I know that we have another item from our first council meeting, that referral to this committee, that we have this review the salary ordinance and the handbook to ensure that our health benefits that are offered extend to spouses and dependents of employees. I think the first step there was to provide the information to the council of how many people would be covered, what, and some details around that. and what past practices have been, to evaluate yes, no, go forward with it, and then amend the ordinance as is to include spouses and dependents. Chief, is that something you'd be able to provide to the council?
Sure, we have a breakdown of how many employees and their dependents are on the healthcare plan. I think the best recommendation would be is, let's look at the handbook, update the handbook, and come up with a recommendation for an amendment to the handbook for the council to approve, specifically covering the healthcare benefits for our employees. When I review the handbook, it really isn't clear on our healthcare benefits in the handbook. So I think by adding a section in there would be beneficial for all of us. So in the salary ordinance itself, it just, states that the employee is responsible for the 20%. But yeah, I think we look at the handbook first and then go from there. So maybe at our next meeting, come up with a recommendation for the handbook of what we would recommend, putting in the town handbook. That would be my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, I think just reviewing the handbook about the general benefits which refers to eligible employees. That's not been our practice, and I don't believe it's the council's intent either. So if we want to start there, I'll be happy to give it a shot in a few sentences to include spouses and dependents.
Yeah, and we have to get it crossed out, right? Because what level do you bring it in? Do they pay 50% of the premium, 60% of the premium for the spouses, and
It's 20% across the policy program.
for the
It's like there's a family plan, I'll just use for instance, let's say the family plan is $1,000 a month for easy math. The employee would be responsible for 20% of that plan, so $200, and then the town picks up the remaining $800 currently.
And then there was this, to make it simple again, with a spouse, say it was two people. We pick up, the employer is responsible for 20% of the cost of the spouse's plan. Right?
Yeah, we have three plans. We have employee and spouse, and employee family.
Right.
And out of those three plans, regardless of which one they take, they pay 20% of the town's premium for that particular plan. And then we offer an HSA. I believe we should put the HSA in the town handbook as well. The HSA is covered in the salary ordinance, where if it is just a single employee, they receive $1,750 for the year. And if it is a employee and spouse or family, they receive $3,500, which brings me to while we're discussing that. So, past practice, employees who join the healthcare program for the town of Long Beach, dependent upon the month that they join the healthcare program, we have prorated their HSA. So we've done that in past practice. So my recommendation and my motion would be that also when I present to the council on Friday with this new employee, they're going to need the family plan. So therefore they would be entitled to $3,500 of HSA. And I would recommend that we prorate it so that 6 weeks, if we start the employee on February 12th, obviously we would prorate it minus the 6 weeks out of the $3,500 and allow the clerk's office to provide the HSA benefit to that individual and their family. So that'd be my motion, that I also present that to the council, because that's the only other monetarily item that would be part of this new hires package, is their salary and then their healthcare package. So.
I don't know how we can, this is a lot of numbers coming by us. If we had something to look at, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I would like, Chief, if it would be possible for you to share the schedule, the health package to us on
What we pay for a family plan. And
yeah, just the whole thing, I think that information would be helpful, and the motion to prorate any new hire. Right, the health savings account prorated, was your request for the motion?
Yeah, because we've done it in the past, we've hired employees, say in March or April, and so we'll take the 3,500, say if they're in the family plan, we just prorate it by the number of days in that, and then provide to them the, eligible HSA.
And that's been standard practice of the town.
It has been, yes.
So we really don't need a motion, that's what we can do, right?
No, yeah. I just want to make this board aware of it.
Yeah.
I think getting that information and the schedule and the fees out to everyone would be great, and even more to your point about taking the salary ordinance and squaring it up with our handbook and taking a good look there to make sure they're aligned and that it's all public information.
I mean, we have, just so that this committee is aware of how it works with some of our employees, and I'll use Sergeant Schooley for an example. Sergeant Schooley is married. However, he was only utilizing the employee-only benefit plan here because his wife decided to go on to her employer plan out of choice, and therefore it will save the town a considerable amount of money. Currently, your clerk treasurer, Meg, and myself, we are on our spouse's healthcare plan. So I myself, I do not get healthcare benefits from the town. However, my wife may be retiring this year, possibly due to health issues and that. So therefore, I would come on to the healthcare program of the town. But I'm in my fourth year now, I have not utilized healthcare benefits here yet, just to save the town, the money I've stayed on my previous employer's healthcare plan.
So do we give a bonus to employees that don't sign up for healthcare?
No, I don't get an HSA. I just save the town money.
Maybe that's something we should look into.
I think previously they provided an HSA to employees that did not take the plan, but I don't know if it's allowable by law or not. We'd have to look into that and see.
And my understanding of the law is HSA and universal benefit has to be extended to all employees as a base, and any modifications are not good practice.
Yeah, you
You can't choose, you can't do something.
So yeah, I mean, there are employees out there that only use it just for that, but then there's others that, are on the family plan or the employee and spouse plan. And I have a breakdown of what general insurance, they provide to the clerk's office and that we'll have, I'll get Renee to send off to everybody so you guys can look at the costs associated with that. We update it often to make sure that we don't have somebody that's on the plan that maybe is no longer here to slip through the cracks in that. So we do an audit of it, monthly to make sure we're not missing anything like that as well. So,
Good.
and we just had a retiree who was on the healthcare plan because we, as a town, previously provided healthcare to that retired employee. However, in November of last year, that employee turned 65 years old, went on to Medicare, and so therefore we took the retired employee off and saved the town. This year, we're not paying for that employee.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for us to all understand the kind of money we're talking about. But of course, we also have to make sure we keep confidential information. So if we do distribute that information, just generalities of how many dependents that may not, et cetera, without the names, but that would be very good information.
Yeah, we have a breakdown.
To get to everyone. Is there any other kind of new items for us to discuss and add to the agenda?
I just have one thing to add that's informational. When we interview for potential openings in the town, if a particular department, say for instance, the police department does not need the assistance of the HR committee because it goes before the police commission, but like water, street, building would have been one of those departments, but this committee was getting reformed. Typically, we have a member of the HR committee sit in on the interview process of that. So I would extend that offer to the HR committee that in the future, as we have these openings, typically how the interview process works, is the department head is involved. Myself as the town administrator, a member of the HR committee, and that's typically like the 3-member interview board that we utilize. So for the process of the building inspector, we utilize the building commissioner, my office, and the office manager for the building department is how we did this process. And then the police process last night, the police board of police officers interviewed, and then tomorrow will be the official interview from the police commission. So just so that this board knows in the future, we may lean on a member of this committee to participate in interviews.
So do you, before you start searching, do you go to the town council and get the approval to search for someone and show them the job description?
We do. And last night, it's a great question. Last night in front of the town council at their special town council meeting, I had presented to the council last night the resignation of one of our officers last week, opening up a second vacancy for us. I sought the approval of the council last night, and they authorized me to move forward with the hiring process for a second deputy.
Oh, great.
Last night. So,
Great.
yeah.
Questions? And that's true. We did, do all of what you said you did. But one thing that I appreciated was that you always came to the HR committee and apprised them exactly what activities have gone on in that particular area. That would have been under their purview, you know, if it was any other type of organizational outline. So continuing that, then that keeps us all up to date. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The doctor says I'm afraid. But thank you so much.
Thanks, Georgia.
Okay.
That's all I have. Sorry, I know I threw a lot at you, just trying to catch everybody up on all the information in that.
No, that's great.
It's a good way to do.
Okay, if there isn't anything else, I think we'll entertain a motion, public comment.
Right.
Come on up. One thing that came up last night was life insurance that's paid to employees. And there was a discussion of when it was last reviewed by the person who is currently providing the life insurance to the company or to the town. So I just wanted to mention that. I don't want to keep adding on to your plate, Chief. And I think it's important to note, Georgetta, I appreciate you saying thank you to Chief, because I think it's important to note that I believe there's a reason why we have received so many capable candidates' resumes, and I want to say thank you. I think there has just been such a sense of professionalism and responsibility within the entire town, but particularly our police department. Another issue that I wanted to bring up was thank you, Mike, for talking about what are similar municipalities, because I think that that was something that was largely bandied about over the last few years. When something would come up, there would be a list of 16 towns read off and what they were paying certain people, it's apples to oranges. It had nothing to do with Long Beach. It had nothing that made any sense. It was just a bunch of numbers. So I appreciate looking into only municipalities that would be similar to Long Beach. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I would also like to say that I really appreciate your attention to the issues that we've had to deal with. And you have highlighted so many things that we could and should look at. So you're very much appreciated.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chief, one last thing as well, is just looking at the asterisk here, Anita brought up a point about the life insurance. If you could also distribute a summary plan description to everyone, what is covered, I think that would be good information for us to have.
Sorry, Chief.
Meg, I was just thinking, Meg, if you could have Deanna email that plan to us, because she has, it's standard is the carrier that, she can send it to us. And then it has a breakdown also, Meg, maybe if she could send, please, the last invoice we received in December that has the employee's name and what we paid per employee, annually. That breakdown was sent to the clerk's office back in December. So we'll get that out.
We'll do that.
It's just good information. Yeah. It's based upon the salary of the employee is kind of how they base the monthly premium for that, so. Yeah, we'll get that to the clerk's office as all.
Yeah, and I think when just looking at how it's written, this is just another area, while it's listed, we could definitely use an appendix to ensure that, yes, the town covers life insurance up, which is standard practice, up to X dollars, but if somebody wants to start buying more as well, there's incremental costs that we follow along, so that's good information as well. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.
All right, thank you, everyone.